Welcome to Be a Blessing with Mitch and Wendy, a no-holds-barred guide to being the best you can be so that you can be a blessing to your family, friends, and everyone you meet. Be a Blessing is about life, from parenting to building a business and building yourself. Mitch and Wendy will cover it all. So buckle up and prepare to get uncomfortable because growth only comes from the other side of a challenge.
Good morning. Welcome to episode 7 of Be a Blessing with Mitch and Wendy.
Episode 7. We're still together after all these years.
That's right.
Or weeks.
Yeah. No, this Saturday we celebrate our 17th wedding anniversary.
Oh, shit, that's right. That's right. I subconsciously knew that, but didn't know what I was referencing in. So what we're 9, how many, crap, I don't know. On camera caught, how many years? 19?
I just said 17.
Oh, 17. Sorry.
I just said it, like in our intro.
Oops. 17 glorious years. You're welcome.
No, so today I picked a topic. I picked something a little more serious, something that is on the forefront of my brain, and something that I'm a little passionate about. I find like this is a real pandemic that's hitting the United States. This is a real, I'm talking about the lack of honor and the lack of respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I find that we're experiencing this on a national level, but it's also affecting us on a personal level, professional level, and it needs to be addressed. I find that that's one of the main character traits that are lacking with every generation that's coming up. It's dying and dying. It's almost non-existent because it's not being taught. I find that the generations, the people that are coming up are weak. They're weak, and it's embarrassing.
So let's do this real quick. So you have honor and respect. So how would you define, in the context of what you're talking about, honor? What is this honor you speak of?
This is a great example. Like the way I was referring to us on a professional and personal level is there's a hiring crisis. You're young and you're healthy and you're able-bodied. And you're sitting at home living on the government's ninny. I don't freaking care. Like it's time. It's embarrassing and it's shameful.
Yeah. So let's all right. So there's no honor living on handouts. I guess that's how you would categorize that.
And before the bleeding heart starts coming on to this, yes, there are people that need it when you're disabled, when you can't physically do it. That there are circumstances that is built for. But when you're young and you're healthy, and especially if you're a man, I just can't.
Yeah.
There's nothing attractive about that.
Yeah. It reminds me of those memes where it's like, hey, all the girls, it's a picture of a dude, his pants is falling down, he obviously doesn't have a job, and it's like, how come all the girls get pregnant by this dude? You seen it? You know what I'm talking about? Uh-huh. Yeah. So honor. So honor, you're talking about honor in terms of doing what's right, going to work, earning an honest living, taking care of your needs, not depending on someone else. That's how you're contextualizing
just being
honor.
An adult.
Okay.
Hitting the standard of what it is to be an adult.
Okay, so let's talk about respect. So is respect something different, or is it...
Well, it kind of ties in together, but respect can be a whole new episode by itself because we're seeing a lack of that. If you scroll social media for 3 seconds, you could just see the lack of respect on social media.
So give me some examples of what's irking. Obviously, it bothers you. So what's some respect issues that are bothering you? You talked about some honor or an honor issue. What's a respect issue that's bothering you?
You can't go out as a person, as an individual with your own freaking thoughts and say your thoughts without somebody saying, F you, or you're a racist, or you're a bigot, or you're a misogynist, or you're whatever, and labeling you and trying to shut you up. But instead, these people don't even want to listen to your perspective and your point of view. They just want to label you, shut you up, and make you sit in the corner with your nose against the wall.
So you're talking about being respectful of viewpoints.
Sure, but Mitch, this goes levels. Like we probably have to develop an episode to
That's fine.
address that by itself.
Well, let's just keep talking though. I mean, we're not talking about other episodes. Let's talk about this. I mean, this is respect. So currently, You're discussing respect being viewpoints, people being disrespectful of
But
viewpoints.
I find that people, with respect in regards to this episode in relation to honor, people don't respect themselves. They don't respect themselves. They want to sit in a cesspool of self-pity and blame everybody else for their lack of, when it has to do with everything on them.
Yeah. One of a statement, and we may have mentioned this in some previous episodes, one statement that we kind of live
Things
by.
happen because of you.
Everything happens because of me. You know, when you live with that kind of level of accountability,
Of radical accountability.
it changes kind of that perspective. And it when you see people who don't have that accountability in their lives, and you do, then it causes this sort of frustration, right? So how do you become a productive person? Obviously, we want to talk about the issue, but here's what I see, and I think I get what you're saying, but sometimes what happens when talking about honor or respect, if we're honest, man, we have a divide in this country. I mean, there's a huge divide, and the very things that you're saying, probably you're on one part of this divide, somebody would label you that, but there's probably people on the other side of the divide who would say the very same things about...
You and I develop relationships intentionally, not only because they're great people, because I love people who have a different perspective than me and a different way of viewing the world, because it challenges me to evaluate my own beliefs and be able to shift and adjust if needed. And I find a wide variety of people are also looking down on this is embarrassing, this is shameful, get out and work.
Yeah.
Get out and work and provide for your family. Make an honest living.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about the respectful piece that you brought up. And you saw something the other day, and I can't remember all the ins and outs and the details of the scenario, but people were making didn't somebody get shot?
This is disgusting.
Yeah. But this goes to the respect and honor piece.
Yes,
And
this was so gross. Okay. In the UK, the leader of the BLM movement was shot in the head, and she's in critical condition. And if you ever want to lose faith in humanity, just click on the comments and read.
Yeah.
I could not believe. It was disgusting to read those comments.
Yeah, and it would be people, and again, I'm going to go back because there's a real problem, there's a divide, and there would be people that you and I fall in line with, and for most ideologies, that were making despicable comments. And here's the problem. And we always want to say, well, it's this side that's gross. It's this side that's disrespectful. This side has no honor. But when your own quote-unquote side, when the side that you're categorized on is doing those types of despicable things, you talk about losing faith in humanity. Man, it just really brings things into perspective. We have a crisis. The honor and respect piece is huge. And it's not just one side or the other. It's all these mothers, man. I want to cuss sometimes. I don't want to cuss too much. It goes across the whole spectrum. And when it goes back to the accountability piece, like we have to be able to take inventory of that.
Yeah.
You have to we need to hold all of ourselves accountable, man. When you see somebody doing disrespectful and dishonorable things, it needs to be called out. It gets real convenient when you're calling out, quote unquote, the other side. But when it's your side, you need to call that shit out too.
I'm done with all this virtue signaling. Stop. It's the most hypocritical thing I've ever seen, because you refuse to address broad spectrum.
Yeah.
You only pinpoint one side of things.
Yeah.
You got to do it on both.
And I think it comes to kind of this mentality of, and this isn't a perfect analogy, but you got to get your own house in order before you can go fix everyone else's, right?
We've got a sign in our home that I bought it on purpose, and it says the most important things you'll ever do are within the walls of your home.
Yeah.
And you can look at a kid. You can look at a kid and know exactly what happens in their house. It goes from generation to generation to generation.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, all you parents, young parents that are living home collecting this check, living in your utopia right now, your kids are learning this. And it's embarrassing. That's the word of the podcast. It's embarrassing, because the way I'm telling my kids, and I'm going to tell them, I don't care what you think. I'm telling my boys, you have your manners, you have respect, You hold firm to your commitments. If you say you're going to be there, you be there. You work hard, because nobody's teaching these kids how to do it. Because, son, if you stay to this, when you're old enough and all the generations learn from their mamas and daddies to stay home, you're going to rule the world, son.
Yeah.
You're going to rule the world just by showing up and working hard.
Yeah. And sometimes when we've had these conversations about our children and the generation that they're coming up with, and how discouraging it can be when you see the lack of work ethic, you see the victimhood, you see all these things. But the flip side of it, the way that we've been spinning it in our conversations as parents, and even in conversations with our kids, is what Wendy just said. Man, as bleak as it may seem, for those people who learn how to work hard, who understand accountability, and who apply these goal setting and executing action plan type mentalities, man, they're gonna, the ascent to the top is gonna be a lot quicker.
It's gonna be a lot easier.
A lot easier. And they, like you said, you're gonna rule, man. You're gonna rule the world. So as discouraging as it may be for us, we find, some solace in the fact that for those who do work hard, it's going to work out for them. So crazy. Honor and respect. So you talked a little bit about the hiring crisis right now, and this is going to be a week from today. It's May 27th, I think, right now. We're shooting this May 20th. So a week from today, this is going to come out. And by then, I don't know what the crisis is going to look like, but we see it every day. You probably see it every day. You can just drive around town and you see help wanted signs everywhere. Help wanted, help wanted. There's places of businesses that are having to close early, having to do half days because they don't have staff to work. We were in Baton Rouge just a week ago.
We went to a chicken place to get a place that serves chicken.
A wing bar, a really cool place, a wing bar in Baton Rouge.
There's like, it's going to be an hour wait. And it was full of empty tables. And we were like, why? And she was like, well, we're down to one waitress. And we were like, huh?
They had one person serving the entire restaurant. So we walked in, there was a sign, said 45-minute wait. And I was like, okay, they probably had this from like the weekend, because it was on a weekend, but maybe the previous night it got real busy. It was what my brain was thinking. I said, so they probably forgot to take the sign down. No big deal. And we walk in, and I was like, hey, we get a table? She's like, yeah, it's going to be a 45. I was like, I thought she was punking me. It's like 45-minute wait. It's like, there's nobody in here. She's like, no, we only have one server.
Well, this is the flip side. So I have a friend I talked to this week that went to a local restaurant here that was down to one server. That server was sweating, was hustling. They tipped that server their entire bill. Over $100. The table next to him said, we're doing the same thing.
Yep.
That server came out with a good night.
That's what I'm saying, but it goes back to flipping it, man. Right now, there's some opportunity. There's some opportunity for some folks.
Royal Martin, Clico, there's job fairs everywhere.
Yeah.
And these people are saying, we can't hardly get nobody to show up to these job fairs. Or if they show up, they want $40 an hour, but these people got a $3 work ethic.
No, but there's some real opportunity right now. And I'm always trying in my brain to flip things. Like, it's sad that there is a crisis, but for the motherfuckers that want to work, there's some real opportunity. Like the guy you just talked about, the guy that showed up and wanted to work by himself, that dude probably made more money that day than he would have made in a week previously. So there's some real opportunity. There's companies right now that are offering sign-on bonuses that are probably bumping up some hourly wages more than they normally would have. There's some real opportunity for people who want to work to go out and get a career and make some money. So I hope that people, as we move out of this, and I'm involved in hiring for 2 companies right now, and I see it firsthand. Here's what's really sad, Frank. Here's what's really sad. We run some ads, and we're trying to hire folks for these 2 different companies, and we've gotten over 100 applications. You know how many people showed up or answered the phone when
Out of 100?
Out of 100, Frank, you know how many? Less than 10. Less than 10. Help me understand.
Because they need to just show that they applied
help
for
me
something to get that check coming.
why you're putting in an application if you won't even answer the phone or show up to an interview. It's because they just have to do that to keep getting the handout. And it's crazy. And I want to tell the few folks that have showed up, I've had this. They'll accept the
A local landscaper told me that.
Accept
He said,
the job
I'll
and
hand
quit.
out a T-shirt for the next day for them not to show up.
Yeah, we have a good friend. Well, I say good friend, a guy that's become a friend who has a prominent landscaping company and does amazing work. And had a long conversation with Wendy about the fact that he's ready to hang it up after years of successful business ownership because he can't find dependable people to work. And it's just, what was this? The reason he's going to continue going is why? Why is he going to keep going?
Oh, God, you got to remind me.
Because he was like, because I'm not going to let the government win.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let them put me out of business by what they're doing. So that's the thing that's fueling me to get through it. It's a real crisis right now. It's crazy to me. Here's what's going to be interesting. I wonder how other business owners are perceiving this. Because Wendy and I have had conversation about the people that don't want to work right now, suddenly when the handouts stop coming, right? Mm-hmm. And you start showing up then now you have to show up because your lazy ass now has to go to work. And you go for an interview and there's the big old gap in your resume. I'm going to be very, very curious about why you have a huge gap in your resume when I've seen hundreds and hundreds of businesses trying to hire and you tell me you couldn't find a job. It's going to make me second, do I really want you? Because when the next government handout comes, are you bailing on me?
Or the next crisis happens, your character, you've already exposed yourself.
Yeah. Like I wonder how other business owners are going to perceive that. And look, maybe we're so desperate for workers it won't matter. We're fortunate in some of the businesses that we have and we're involved with in that we're not necessarily in that position, so we could be a little bit selective, and some folks don't have that luxury. But the folks that are in a position to be a little bit more selective moving forward, I wonder if they're going to be paying attention to that. And if you're watching this, know that people will be. Like there's consequence for your action. If you're lazy, there's consequence for that.
Well, let's just be honest. The people who are living at home right now are not watching this podcast.
Probably not, but just saying, if somebody happens to stumble upon this and you're pissed off by what we're saying, just know it's not to hurt you. It's to try to help you. We want you to be successful. Like the mission of this podcast is to be a blessing, and the shit I'm telling you is the same shit I tell my kids. As like, look, you need to get up and you need to go to work. Don't be lazy. Work hard. Don't play the victim, and make something of yourself. And I promise, if that makes you angry, well then I believe you need to take some inventory and look inward. Because there was a time in my life when somebody told me that and it made me angry. But you know what? I started listening to what they had to say and it changed my life.
And you got to flip the script on that. Sometimes being kind is not being, sometimes being kind is telling you the truth because that helps you be better.
Yeah.
That's the kindest thing you can do is tell somebody the truth.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, we were going back, and we're kind of all over the place at this point, but it's good conversation. It's organic discussion for you and I. But we were talking about things that we teach our kids. Kids are watching you. Kids are listening. Man, whether you think you're a leader or a teacher, if you have children, there is no thinking about that. You are. You're teaching and demonstrating something powerfully every day to those young people. We have a basketball goal. This was just a small thing that kind of made me smile, but was also a teaching moment. We have a basketball goal that's been sitting in our garage, and so we need to get rid of it. And so I told Wendy, take a picture of it, send it to me, and I'll put it on social media. Hopefully somebody will want it. So I did. Had a gentleman reach out to me. Would love to have it for my grandson. Arranged for him to come pick it up on a Friday. So I got home last night like at 9 o'clock from the ballpark, because right now we're in the middle of baseball season, and every night it's 9 o'clock at the ballpark season. So we got home, Maddox was with me, and I was like, hey man, I got somebody to come get the basketball goal on Friday. He was like, woo, how much money you got for it? I said, actually, we're gonna give it away to somebody. He's like, ooh, don't tell nobody that, man. We're business people. I was kind of proud the way that he was thinking. He was thinking from an entrepreneur stand, hey, let's sell this thing, let's make some money. But it was also a teaching moment for her. I said, look, Maddox, I said, I like what you're saying. I like how you're thinking. I said, but sometimes it's good to be generous. And we are fortunately in a position that we can be generous. And this isn't like some huge act of generosity. The basketball goal is a couple $100 we bought a couple of years ago. Could we have asked $50 for it? Probably. I don't need $50. I'd rather give it to somebody and bless them than make $50. So sometimes generosity is more important than making a profit. And so it was a teaching moment. And so when you become intentional with your kids, hey, we've been intentional about demonstrating and showing them entrepreneurship, capitalism, profit and loss, all those things. They've seen that, and they're young. He's just 13, and he's already thinking in those types of context, which is great. But hey, man, on the backside of that, generosity is a good thing as well. So you said something, and we're not here to boast on our kids. I just know there's probably some parents that probably have the same struggles that we have. And this goes back to the respect and honor thing. So it's staying in line with the theme of the conversation. Sometimes, if you're like us, you wonder if you're raising your kids right. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you feel like you're fighting a losing battle. You feel like it's an uphill battle. Like, are these little midgets really getting what I'm trying to teach them? And Wendy had a cool moment that I want her to share about one of our children that was said about him, because sometimes it takes other people observing your children to really see the kind of impact that you're making. And I want to use this as an example to say, keep fighting the good fight as parents. So share briefly what you shared with me.
Yeah, very unexpectedly, there was a figure at my son's school that had pulled me aside this week and told me that, he said, Wendy, I'm not just saying that because you're standing right here, but if I could give an award to a kid, just one kid at that school, the whole junior high, for the most outstanding boy.
Human. You said most, what was it, human?
Yeah, human boy. It'd be your son. And he said, your son, I can watch him, and if there's something shady going on, he's the first to leave the group. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He's always kind, respectful, nice, talks to all the kids. And it's just reaffirmed, it made you feel good because you get to see the other side of your kid. You know, mamas and dads, you get to see that side of your kid that, you know, makes you say, Jesus Christ, about 40 times a day.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was a feel-good moment.
And I think we've probably all parents at some point, if you're a decent person as a parent, have had those moments, and you know it brings about some relief. It just makes you feel good. Like, okay, man, I'm not ruining these little people. I'm actually doing something right.
Yeah. Because you do. You're like, man, the way I'm raising my kids, my name's going to end up in counseling later on. It's just, oh, geez. You know, just hoping that you're doing it right, because there's no right or wrong way of doing it. It's just doing the best you can.
Yeah. So how do you change the world? For us, changing the world starts at home.
Yeah.
Investing in our marriage, investing in our children and our inner circle. And it's, to me, I don't know how else to do it. Like you're not going to change the world on social media. Now, is this going to be on social media, this conversation? Sure. Are we dabbling in that world? Sure. But I can promise you this podcast is going to have less effect than the effect that I'm going to have with my marriage and my children and my grandchildren. That's going to be the ultimate legacy change that we're going to have. Maybe this podcast grows and it has some outreach as well. But to me, it really starts in the home. Change your home, invest in your marriage, invest in your children, invest in your grandchildren. Be intentional about what you're doing. Teach things. Hold them accountable. Hold each other accountable. That's how you change the world. You are teaching those people something. Whether you think you are or not, you are demonstrating something and you are teaching something. So make sure you're demonstrating and teaching, and in terms of what we're conversating here about today, love and respect, or honor and respect. Mm-hmm. Show those things, because that's how, instead of focusing on what's happening across the world or across the street or across the U.S., focus on what's happening across the coffee table in your house. That's where you start to make a difference. That's what's made a difference in our lives. And so, last thing, we're out of time. If you're still listening, thanks for listening, and thanks for viewing this. Hopefully it's had some value. These are things that have been valuable in our lives. We want to share them with others, so hopefully it brings about value and is a blessing to you and your family. If you like what we had to say, please share the podcast. We're online, mitchandwindi.com. We're on Facebook. Shoot us a question today, mitchandwindi@gmail.com. I would love the chance to have some interaction with you in that way. And we always end this way. Wendy, what's one thing of value that you could leave our viewers and our listeners today?
It's time to get back to work.
Back to work.
I don't know if that's value or something you could, but it's just time to get back to work.
Yeah.
Guys, enough's enough.
Yeah. And most people who are watching this probably are working, like what you said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's putting this in their earbuds while they're grinding it out.
Yeah, you're on your way right now to a job probably. And so, but think of it this way. Maybe it's time to get back to work on your marriage. Maybe it's time to get back to work and investing in your children. Maybe it's time to get back to work investing in your grandchildren. There's always things that we can be better at. And if you are watching this and you're sitting on your ass at home, get back to work. Right now is a huge opportunity for you. I promise you. And so go have some ambition, have some work ethic, and go and take advantage of the opportunities that are here right now. Because I promise you, when the handouts stop coming and all the lazy people have to go back to work, the opportunity suddenly won't be what it is right now. So if you happen to stumble upon this, now's your chance. Go while the getting is good.
Especially if you got little ones.
Yeah.
Man, they need you to do that.
That's right. Hey, thanks for checking out this podcast, episode number 7. Be a blessing. I'm Mitch. This is the beautiful Wendy. Lovely Frank behind us. Appreciate you, brother. Have a great day.